They faced the worst year of their life, the kind of year that stripped them of everything they thought they needed to survive. It started slowly, quietly, like a whisper before the storm. One small problem became 2, then 5, then 100. Each day felt heavier than the one before. Nothing seemed to make sense anymore. Hello. You're welcome to the Thryve side. Hit the subscribe button, like and share this story to someone you love today. At first, they tried to stay strong, pretending everything was fine. Smiling in front of people, crying behind closed doors. They told themselves it was just a phase, that things would get better. But life had other plans. The job they had worked so hard for was gone. The relationship they thought would last forever fell apart without warning. The friends they trusted disappeared when things got dark. And for the first time they were forced to face themselves. There were nights when the silence felt unbearable. Nights when they lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how it all fell apart. They stopped picking up calls, stopped replying to messages. The world kept moving, but they stood still, watching their dreams fade like smoke. Every morning felt like a battle. Getting out of bed was victory enough. Eating was a chore. Smiling felt impossible. People told them, "Stay positive." Others said, "Everything happens for a reason." But when you're in the middle of your storm, those words sound empty. They didn't want motivation. They wanted peace. They wanted to breathe again without feeling like the air was too heavy. One day something inside them snapped. Not in anger, but in surrender. They stopped fighting to bring back what was gone. They sat still and allowed themselves to feel it all. The disappointment, the grief, the fear. And for the first time they truly cried. Not the kind of crying that seeks pity, but the kind that cleanses the soul. Weeks turned into months. They started walking every morning just to clear their mind. They found comfort in silence, in music, in watching the sunrise. They began writing down their thoughts, not to post or to impress anyone, but to remind themselves that they were still here, still alive, still capable of feeling something. Slowly, little by little, they began to heal. It wasn't dramatic or loud. Healing rarely is. It was quiet, subtle. They started cooking again. They cleaned their space. They read books that made them think differently. They discovered podcasts and stories of people who had been through worse and made it out stronger. And that gave them hope. One day, they stood in front of a mirror and realized they didn't recognize the person staring back. Their eyes looked different. Calmer, wiser. Their shoulders weren't weighed down like before. The sadness hadn't disappeared completely, but it no longer controlled them. They had changed. They had grown. That year taught them things no comfort ever could. They learned that peace isn't found in things or people, but in acceptance. They learned that sometimes you lose everything just to remember who you are without it. They learned that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Keep going," when no one's watching. There were still hard days, of course. There always are. But they handled them differently now. Instead of asking, "Why me?" they started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Every setback became a lesson. Every loss became a redirection. Every delay became protection. The world began to notice their glow. Not the kind that comes from success or money, but the quiet confidence that comes from surviving. People asked, "How did you do it? How did you turn it all around?" They smiled and said, "I stopped running from pain and started learning from it." They didn't have everything figured out, but they were no longer broken. They were becoming whole. They understood now that sometimes life has to fall apart so you can rebuild it with purpose. The old version of them had dreams built on fear and approval. Zinni. November 5th, 2025, 6:39 p.m. The new version built dreams on peace and authenticity. They started something new. A small idea, a small step toward a new life. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. They learned to find beauty in slow progress. They learned to be patient with themselves. They realized that growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the dark when no one's clapping. As months passed, they found themselves laughing again. Not forced laughter, but the real kind that comes from joy. They started reconnecting with people who added peace to their life. They learned to say no without guilt. They learned that solitude isn't loneliness. It's where you meet yourself again. By the end of that year, everything looked different. Their surroundings, their mindset, even their voice. They didn't just recover, they transformed. The pain had stripped them, but it also rebuilt them into someone they never thought they could be. If you saw them before and after that year, you'd hardly believe it's the same person. The one who once begged for answers now walks in faith. The one who cried over endings now celebrates new beginnings. They became unrecognizable, not because they changed who they were, but because they finally became who they were meant to be. Now when people talk about that dark year, they smile. They don't see it as punishment anymore. They see it as preparation. Every closed door, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, it all shaped the strength they carry now. They learned that storms don't last forever, but the lessons do. They learned that rock bottom isn't the end. It's the foundation you rebuild on. They learned that even the worst pain has purpose if you let it teach you. So if you're going through your worst year right now, remember this story. Remember that one day, the pain that feels unbearable will become your power. One day, the things that broke you will be the same things that built you. One day, you'll look in the mirror and see someone new. Someone unrecognizable, in the best way possible. Keep going. Rest when you need to, cry when it hurts, and trust that your time is coming. Because just like them, you'll come out of this stronger, softer, wiser, and ready for the life that's waiting on the other side of your pain. And when that day comes, you'll look back and realize the worst year of your life was actually the year that changed everything. The year you stopped surviving and started truly living. The year you stopped breaking and started becoming. The year you finally stepped into your power. That is the story of transformation. That is the story of becoming unrecognizable. And that is the story of you, rising, healing, thriving on the Thryve side. Make sure you like and share this video to someone you love. The next video will blow your mind.